Hey guys, welcome back to my garage. Today we're going to do a little different project. We're going to work on my CBR600RR here. The reason being is that next week I'm doing my first track day, and one of their requirements was that your brake pads can't be showing less than 30% wear. Now, I don't think mine are that low, but I figured I don't want to risk it. I don't want to get to the track day and find out, hey, your brakes aren't good enough, blah, blah, blah. So I'm just going to swap them out. And if you see on the back here, I still have a lot of meat left, so I really don't think I need to do this. But I'm just going to do it for precaution. I don't want to have any issues at my first track day. Plus, I figure new pads will perform better anyway, so good to have brakes on a track. So let's get into this job. All right, so here's everything you're going to need to do this job if you're doing it at home. Get a nice ratcheting wrench. A little extension might be helpful. This is a 14mm socket. That's going to be for your caliper bolts. This is a 5mm Allen. That's going to be for the pad retaining pins. And this is an 8mm socket for the rear caliper retaining pin for the pads. Here's some brand new EBC double H sintered brake pads. I trust this brand. They're a little more expensive than some of the cheap knockoff ones, but they're brakes. They're important. Spend the money. So I'm getting the EBCs. Got some thread locker for the caliper bolts, gloves to keep clean, some disc brake caliper lubricant. .4 if we need it. I might not need it, depends on if I spill any fluid out when I'm pushing the piston back in. And then a torque wrench. And that's really all you're going to need to get this job done. So on the caliper in the front you have your two caliper bolts. There's one there and one there, and those are 14mm. You're just going to break those loose. First you're going to want to loosen up these pins though. They shouldn't be torqued hard, so it shouldn't be too hard to break, but these are going to be the 5mm Allen. These are the pins that hold the pads in place. So you want to break those loose. And then we'll break these caliper bolts. We'll remove the caliper, pull the old pads out, put the new ones in, and put it back on. It's really a simple job. So set up the time lapse so you can see me do that. As you can see, these still have a lot of life on them, so I'll definitely hold on to them. Never, can't hurt to have an extra set. One side seems to be wearing a little faster than the other, but overall they're not in terrible shape. These are actually Tokiko brand, so these are the stock ones. Alright, so here we have the old stock pads, and you can see they still have a lot of life on them. I mean, probably really didn't need to do this job compared with the new ones. But I want peace of mind at the track, I don't want any issues. Easy job to do, and I'm happy to show it to you guys, so let's get this finished. Okay, so I've got this hung up with a zip tie so it doesn't put any pressure on the cable. So as you can see here, these are the pistons, and we need to push these back in so that the new pads will fit in without being too tight. Otherwise, if you don't push them in, you're going to put the pads in there, and then they won't fit around the rotor because obviously the gap is too small. So the best way to push those in is you take your old pad, just kind of slide it in there. Oops, it's backwards. Slide it in like that. Oh, and my zip tie's in the way, so I guess I gotta cut this. Give me 1 second. Trusty scissors, cut the zip tie. So again, we're going to take the old pad, slide it right in there. And then we're just going to take a screwdriver. Actually, I'm going to go put the... I'm just using the other one so we're not putting pressure against any of the caliper, but I'm just going to kind of gently pry that, push. And you might want to watch your master cylinder up on top, make sure it doesn't start spitting fluid out, because if it is full, this is going to push some fluid back up into it. But I think we'll be okay up there. So you can see I'm just gently pushing those pistons back in. And that should be good. And I don't see any fluid coming out the top, so I think we're okay. So now we're going to take the old one out again, put these new ones in there, just like that. These pins are going to go back in and hold them in place, but what I'm going to do is add a little more, just clean them up and then add a little grease to it so they slide nicely. And then we'll mount this back up. So I'm just going to temporarily pull these out. Just set that back here temporarily so it's not putting stress on that line while I go lubricate the pins. And there we have it, 2 freshly lubricated caliper pins. So, this. Oops. And again, you want the holes going inward. Make sure you don't get any lubricant on the pad material either. Yeah, pins go in here. You have to kind of put a little pressure on the pad so that the pin finds the hole. And that's about it. And you just want to get it in there seated nicely. Do final tightening later. It's a little finicky, but if you just keep and there we have it. Now again, take the screwdriver, just kind of spread those apart so it'll fit around your rotor. Get it into place, and that should do it. Now, Honda says these are one-time use only bolts. I've reused them in the past without any issues. So what I'm going to do is just clean up all this thread locker, put fresh thread locker, and put them back in. I feel fine with this. If you disagree, that's fine. You can go buy new bolts too. So that's how I'm going to do it. I think these are 8 foot-pounds, but it's not very tight. Just give it a good snug. That should be good for those two. These two are 33 foot-pounds. Those I am going to get a torque wrench out for. And I have my torque wrench set to 33. We're just going to go until it clicks. Good. Just double check the bottom one. And we're good. Last thing you want to do is just pump your brake a few times to restore pressure to that. And there we go. we got brakes again. Cool. Now I'm just going to do the other side. It's the exact same project, so I'm going to do it real fast without off camera. So on the rear, it's even easier. This is the only bolt you have to undo to get these pads out. This is an 8mm. So grab your favorite socket wrench and an 8mm. Make sure you put it to loosen. And then just break this pivot pin. Shouldn't be on too tight. I think it's 13 foot-pounds. And we're just gonna undo that. Pull that out. These pads should just fall right out. So there's your pivot pin. Again, I'm gonna clean this up. There's a little rubber gasket here, so you don't wanna like get any chemicals on there that might damage the rubber. I don't know if you can see that. But we're gonna clean this up, get all this muck off of it, and re-lubricate it. But these should just come right on out. And again, as you can see, this has a lot of life on it, but again, I'm doing the track day, so I just want to be secure. Next thing we want to do is in here is the piston. We're just going to want to push that back in the cylinder so we have room for our new fatter pads to go in there. So just gently get in there, gently push that back a little bit. Not so much that your fluid reservoir overfills. Mine looks good. And I'll pull the other pad out on the other side. Same thing, plenty of life. And now these can only go one way in. As you can see, they look the same but mirrored, so they can only go in like this. Obviously your hole needs to be facing outside, so let's see if we can slide that in. She's a tight one, but it'll go eventually. There we go. It's one side in, you can feel it hitting the spring in there. And now we'll slide this side in. Should slide in, you shouldn't have to force it. If you can't get it in, you may need to push the caliper a little more. The piston rather, but there it goes, it's seated. We're good, so now I am just gonna go clean this up real quick and we'll be right back. And there she is, cleaned up and lubricated. So all we're gonna do now, lift these up, just line up the hole, slide that back in, start threading it, get it going. And it's 13 foot-pounds, so we're just gonna do a nice snug. That feels like 13 to me. Perfect. And then what you want to do is pump your rear brake a few times to restore pressure to the piston. And we got brakes. All good. All right, and there we have it. A simple brake pad change. So I appreciate you guys watching and coming along with me on this little quick maintenance job. Fronts are both done, working great. So this bike is ready for the track now. Thanks guys, peace, like and subscribe.